Hello.
How you doing?
All right. How are you today?
I'm doing great, now that I've got you on the phone.
The question everyone keeps asking is, how could you not know?
And Ace's response is something we see very often in true crime. We see someone closing their eyes, shutting off the thoughts, the opinions, the penetrating glare of the viewer, trying to shut that out and hold what is inside. I'm trying to keep myself sane, she said. At the same time, people are saying, how could you not know that your husband was a serial killer? Wait a minute, I picked him up from the train station every single day. He was home here on the weekends. He smoked a cigar in the garage. If he told me he went out to Lowe's to pick something up and he was gone for an hour, no freaking way is this man going out soliciting sex from a sex worker, killing them and dumping them on Gilgo Beach.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. The innocent can be so naive, right? The crimes were all apparently committed when she was safely out of town, not while she was around. And just because something is very, very carefully hidden doesn't mean it's not happening. We live in a world that is so overt. When something is covert, we're astonished. According to the New York Post, she did have one issue with her embattled husband. She doesn't like his new haircut. Eye roll. Right, before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Bear in mind, I've been boots on the ground in Long Island, including to Massapequa Park along the Long Island Rail commute that Rex Heumann did, and then also to his offices in Midtown Manhattan. So if you're looking for penetrating insights into this case, look no further. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, please hit the thanks button and let's get started. Now, according to the Post, Asa Ellerup, 61 years old, said during an explosive interview in this upcoming Peacock docuseries, it's called The Gilgo Beach Killer House of Secrets, that she's convinced the cops have the wrong guy and that her wonderful husband isn't the monster who killed and mutilated 7 sex workers on Long Island over nearly 30 years. Now, I do wonder, if she thinks he's the wrong guy, who's the right guy? Who does she think killed these women if it wasn't him? Now, to be in denial at this stage isn't odd, and I don't think it's ignorance, it's something else. Obstinacy, perhaps, stubbornness, maybe. It's, I think, a not very strong individual who perhaps needs to get out more and have more and better relationships with other people. I think the terror of this case is that it suggests this idea that the person closest to you is cleverly keeping you in the dark about something, craftily manipulating you into thinking they're something they're not. All the while, there's another side to them that may be sick, cruel, and even deadly, and one is safe as long as one is blissfully unaware. The sheer amount of clutter in the home tells you not much reality is reaching the door, and the door seldom opens to new information. Asa says, telling him that I love him, that will hurt him. What I want to say to him is, I love you no matter what, but I don't even want to say no matter what because I don't believe he did this. I don't see what everybody else is saying. I don't see phone calls to sex workers. Now, I'm sure if you showed her evidence, she would find some excuse not to believe it as well. Look at her language thus far, her statements. I don't see what everybody else is saying. She's right, she doesn't see it. She believes she has a stronger grasp of her reality rather than the opposite, that she's been living with someone she doesn't actually know at all, and thus has a very tenuous grasp, perhaps, of her own reality. She also says, I'm trying to keep myself sane. She is. I think she's trying to keep anxiety, keep the fear at bay, but apparently at the expense of reality. And then she says, that will hurt him. It's also interesting that she says, I love you no matter what. So it's almost like she's saying, even if you did kill these women, I still love you. Really? Should someone love someone no matter what, if it's a serial killer? And consider the terrible irony here, potentially. She doesn't want to hurt him with words. A woman doesn't want to hurt him when what we are potentially dealing with here are multiple absolutely excruciating murders, where the point of these crimes was to inflict maximum pain and misery and to take sadistic pleasure out of it. Meanwhile, she doesn't want to hurt his feelings with words. If he is the killer many imagine him to be, one can see why he expected to get away with his crimes, because his partner is the opposite of a critical thinker. Anyway, according to the Post, despite the divorce filing, Asa Ellerup said she regularly speaks to her husband behind bars. She says, I haven't seen him in all this time, and when I went down there I was excited and like I was, I don't know, I guess on a first date. You're nervous, you're scared. I don't know how the date is going to go. Well, you'd imagine he should feel nervous and scared about being found out, about the state that he's in. Doesn't it seem like she's completely off track on what is the appropriate emotion here? You would imagine that she would be angry, she'd be disappointed, she'd be wanting answers from him. She goes on to say she hasn't gone to see him in several months and is paranoid about the conversations being recorded behind bars, which makes her afraid to be open with him. The pair formed a years-long platonic bond that eventually turned into a romance, this is according to the Post, as their first marriages fizzled. Both of their first marriages fizzled and they moved in together, which led to their wedding in Sweden, of all places, in 1995. The next year their daughter Victoria was born. Now, it would be interesting to know whether at a certain point, whatever monster was living inside the Gilgo Beach serial killer, whether it was eventually slayed. I guess I mean in the sense, did he find love and something to soothe the beast in this new domestic situation with Asa and with Victoria? And yet his encounter with a young woman, I reported on that just a few days ago, on the Long Island Railway, sitting beside her, telling her not to mind her pretty legs, suggests human as recently as a week or two before his arrest. It suggests that he still had a hole in his heart or some sort of obsession with women, perhaps fed by porn or his past or both. He still seemed to have a need that late in his whole timeline that remained ostensibly unfulfilled. I mean, beyond the warm and fuzziness of someone making coffee and handing cookies to you in the kitchen, while a cat purrs comfortably on the sofa. There is still a wild animal growling inside a cage, isn't there? According to the Post, these days Ellerup said she's brought to tears by the Buddy Holly tune Crying, Waiting, Hoping. She denied claims that the couple had swinger parties in the past, calling the notion absurd, and maintained human would never ask. Do you believe her? I do. I mean, with respect, who would want to swing with him or with her? According to the Post, she appears to be in denial of some of the evidence Suffolk County prosecutors pulled from the couple's home, including sick porn involving videos, claiming she doesn't know if the footage is actually his. It's exactly what I said. Show her evidence and she'll make some excuse. Oh, but you can't prove it's his. There's also the so-called blueprint. I think it's a Word document that appears to have been inspired by a John Douglas book or taken out of one. Now, if you can't take that seriously, I'm not sure what will work here. And what about his daughter? She's half him. Surely she's not been as easily duped and she's in less denial than her mother is. Or is she under an even heavier spell? According to the Post, Asa also claimed her husband didn't solicit hookers, although she said she believes prostitution should be legal. Now, instead of mocking this woman, I think we have to look at our own lives and ask, are we enablers? Is there something close to us hiding a dark secret that we are in denial about? What are we in denial about? I mentioned earlier, we live in a world that is so overt. When something is covert, we're astonished. We're caught off guard. I see many true crime creators on YouTube and they peddle in everything that's overt. It's shocking. It's shockingly obvious. But that's not a skill we need to learn to recognize the obvious. What we need to learn, what we need to see is what's hidden, what's subtle, what's secret. And the vulgar, almost tabloid style you see all over the place, it teaches us to ignore subtlety. and to imagine the world is just as we think it is. It's kind of what you see is what you get. It is simpler and more obvious than it really is. And this trains us effectively, it hypnotizes us into being more vulnerable to real life, which is a lot more subtle than we realize. It makes us more vulnerable to real life, not less. People like Asa like to be told what they want to hear, but we need to be stronger than that.
You know, sometimes exactly what I want to hear isn't exactly what I want to hear.
And we must be careful only wanting to hear what we want to hear. We need to be open to the subtle reality that lies underneath. I'm not going to take it further than that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.